No. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CEO Sports Show for August 15, 2025. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the Washington Commanders and why I believe they are going to miss the playoffs this upcoming season. I want to talk about Arch Manning and some of the hype that he's been going through. I know there was another show on the Kretschman Media, the Kretschman Media station here, network, where, we had Ben Garcia yesterday talk about it. And I think he did a really good job talking about it. And I just want to add a little bit to it because, I do think that there is a lot of hype around Arch Manning. And, we'll see what happens, but we'll get to that when it's time to get to that. I also want to talk about the Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez fight coming up here in September. But before we get into the episode, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I'll greatly appreciate that. All the support has been fantastic. We've been doing very good in these first 2 weeks here. And we're just going to continue to get better and better and better. And come football season, basketball season, I really think that this page, the network as a whole, is going to take a big time step forward. And I can't wait for that. I really can't. It's going to be a very fun sports season this upcoming season. Because that's like, to me, football season is where sports season starts. I get it. There's baseball and baseball is great. I get it. But like football season, basketball season, that's the peak of the year. Like if we're just being 100% honest, like I think that this like next 2 months, September, October, like November, that's the peak of sports season, in my personal opinion. But before we get into the stream, by the way, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate that. Make sure to go check out the other shows here on Kretschman Media, the Mic Drop and the Stadium Pulse. But without further ado, let's get into the topic. I believe that the Washington Commanders are going to miss the playoffs this upcoming season. And I feel very confident about this take. I think that they're going to have a setback this upcoming season because part of it isn't even the current regime's fault, because I do think that they've done some really good things in these past 2 years to put the Commanders in the right direction. But I just think that the regime prior to this one was so bad that it set this regime up for failure, to be honest with you. I mean, this team is constructed of a lot of players that are in their 30s. They had to get a lot of free agents to come to this team to make them a better team because of how poorly they drafted over the past few years prior to this new regime change. Now, do I think Jane Daniels will be as good as his rookie season? We'll see. I mean, look, there's a lot of times where you see these sophomore slumps. I think it happens more than it doesn't. And not only that, I want to go over the Commanders' first round draft picks since 2017. Jonathan Allen, 2017, not on the team anymore. Deron Payne, still a very good player for them. Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace. Not going to comment on that. Montez Sweat, not on the team anymore. Chase Young, not on the team anymore. Jamin Davis, okay player. Jahan Dotson, not on the team anymore. Manuel Forbes, not on the team anymore. Jaden Daniels, obviously that's a home run pick. No doubt about it. Josh Connerly, I really believe that this young man could be a very good right tackle for them. But that's like kind of the thing though, right? Like this is a team that they built from outside because of that's just the cards they had to be dealt. And not only that, they won 9 one-score games last year. I believe that was the number. It's just hard to replicate that. They were 1-5 against playoff teams in the regular season last year. It's hard to replicate the type of success that they had last year. They're not taking anybody by surprise anymore. There are expectations for this football team. And I don't think that the addition of Deebo Samuel is going to be some big time addition for them. Obviously, I like the Laramie Tunsil trade, but I kind of wonder, like, okay, Houston had the worst offensive line in the league, one of them, and they traded Laramie Tunsil. Like, why is that? Do they know something that the rest of the league didn't know? And that's where I say, like, I'm a little disappointed with how the Commanders handled this offseason, because I think they had an opportunity to add a lot of really good players to this roster. And they added some good players for sure, but not to the extent that I thought they were going to do, right? No, I talked about that this team is made up of a lot of players that are above the age of 30. And, when you're done, you're done. Like, it comes fast. Like Zach Ertz next year, do I think he's going to have the season that he had this year? Absolutely not. Do I think Bobby Wagner is going to have the season that he did last year? Absolutely not. Von Miller, they brought him in because their pass rush is so damn bad. And that's another thing. Like, I actually think their secondary, they have a chance to be good, but their pass rush is non-existent. Not bringing back Dante Fowler, I think personally, was a bad decision by them, especially when you see the contract that he got paid in Dallas. When you look at how productive a pass rusher Dante Fowler was for the Commanders last year, they absolutely should have brought that man back, because he was the best pass rusher on their team last year. And not only does he leave the Commanders, he goes to the Cowboys, a division rival, who you could say, man, like, their pass rush is already really good. They were 3rd in the league in sacks, and they added a 10+ sack guy. And Commanders could have prevented that from happening. I do like some of the young players on the Commanders. Obviously, Jane Daniels, fantastic player. Mike Sanistrell, the corner that they drafted last year, he has a chance to me to be, we'll see what they do. Do they play him on the outside? Do they play him in the slot? He has a chance to be one of the best corners, whether he's playing outside or in the slot. I like the pick of Trey Amos. They're heading in the right direction from that standpoint. But I don't think their defensive line is that impressive. They brought in Javon Kinlaw, which is, to me, like, what they paid him. I think they paid him $45 million over 3 years. Like, that's a little bit of a stretch there. I kind of think that he got overpaid a little bit. Dan Quinn, I'm not a fan of Dan Quinn defenses. Like, we see Dan Quinn and what he does with teams. He's really good with turning around certain situations, but he's not the guy that can maintain success. Like, when you see what he did with Atlanta, he provided a shot in the arm to that organization, and then it ended up fizzling out. Same thing with Dallas when he came in as the defensive coordinator. Shot in the arm, then he ended up fizzling out. We'll see what happens with the Commanders. Obviously, he's off to a very good start, made the NFC Championship game. But, will it be the same thing that he's had in previous stops where, he comes in day one, he's an awesome coach, and then he kind of, wears out his welcome a little bit. And we'll see what happens there. But, I mean, I do like a lot of the infrastructure that they built for the future of this football team when you talk about, obviously, the quarterback. But general manager Adam Peters, big fan of his. I like Dan Quinn as a coach. I actually think that he's probably a better head coach than he is, defensive coordinator, because he's kind of like Dan Campbell to me in a way, right? Like, he has that type of energy to him. So I like the things that they're building. I just think that the current regime needs to come in and really clean up the mess of the previous regime, which I think they're doing a good job. They're really building something there. Obviously, they made it to the NFC Championship game last year, but I just don't see them replicating the same type of success because they're going to have a harder schedule this year. Obviously, like the 1-score games, I don't think that they're going to have as much success as they did the previous year. You remember, like, the Minnesota Vikings in 2022, they were winning every 1-score game. And then the next season, they weren't winning those games. And, they lost a lot more games than they did the previous season. So that's why, I get a little wheezy here when I'm like, team that won a lot of one-score games. I'm not 100% sure of that. So me personally, I have the Commanders coming in third in the NFC East, and I have them missing the playoffs. I think they're going to win about 8 games this year. Me personally, because I'm their defense. I'm sorry, it's bad. Their defense is really bad. And is their offense? Do I look at them as like high-powered? No. Like, do I think their offense is good enough to overcome what I think is going to be like a really bad defense this upcoming season? No, I don't. I don't think it's that type of offense. So that is my take there on the Commanders, and we're going to move on to the next topic. But before we do, please make sure to subscribe to the Mic Drop with Benjamin Garcia. Fantastic show. I highly recommend it. Same thing with the Stadium Pulse. Fantastic show there by Tegan Randolph, talking about all things college football. You guys should absolutely go check that out. Fantastic shows they have over there. And also, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I'll greatly appreciate that. I want to move on here to college football and the Texas Longhorns in particular. I believe in Arch Manning. I think that he is going to win a national championship for the Texas Longhorns. But at the same time, the preseason hype, I don't believe is warranted from the standpoint of, I was listening to Joel Klatt's show, and he has Arch Manning ranked as the 4th best player in the entire country. Not 4th best quarterback, not 4th best quarterback in the SEC, 4th best player in the entire country. I just think that's absolutely ludicrous. I think that's ludicrous. A guy who has started 2 games in his college career is the 4th best player in the country. And here's my thing, right? Arch Manning is looked at as like an Andrew Luck level prospect, right? Where he could be one of the best prospects that we've seen since Andrew Luck. I have a question for you guys. I get it. Steve Sarkisian had loyalty towards Quinn Ewers. Is Andrew Luck sitting behind Quinn Ewers? Is Caleb Williams, who, by the way, fantastic college quarterback, is he sitting behind Quinn Ewers? Is Trevor Lawrence sitting behind Quinn Ewers? Right? Like, are any of those type of quarterbacks that came in with all this hype, are they sitting behind Quinn Ewers? I don't believe so. He was a 7th round pick in the draft for, I think, a good reason. And you saw he was very bad in his preseason debut. So we could talk about Steve Sarkisian had loyalty towards Quinn Ewers, but if Arch Manning was actually Andrew Luck, one of those type of quarterbacks, he's not sitting behind Quinn Ewers. He was a redshirt freshman last year. It was his 2nd year in college football. If he was that good, he would have started over Quinn Ewers. Loyalty be damned. The only thing that Steve Sarkisian has loyalty to is the Texas Longhorns program and trying to have them be as good as they could possibly be. If it was true, a lot of people say that, hey, Arch Manning could have, beaten Ohio State if he was the quarterback. That was true. We should have played that game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. What are we talking about loyalty at that point? Loyalty to Quinn Ewers, who, granted, did a lot of really good things for that program. I'm not trying to disrespect Quinn Ewers, and his road record was fantastic. I mean, the fact that he went on the road to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama in that stadium, fantastic. But you're really trying to tell me that you're going to put a lesser quarterback on the field when that could have been the difference between you beating Ohio State and going on to Notre Dame and beating Notre Dame and winning a national championship. Loyalty to an individual player stops you from that. If he was that big of a difference for the Texas Longhorns program last year, he should have been the starting quarterback. Loyalty be damned. The only thing Steve Sarkisian needs to be loyal to is getting those W's. And if Arch Manning was really Andrew Luck, if he was really Trevor Lawrence, if he was really one of those type of guys, he should have been on the field. Point blank, period. Quinn Ewers, hats off to you. Now, understand this. It sounds like I'm being hypercritical of Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning's going to be a really good quarterback. I believe in Arch Manning. Hell, I think they're going to win a national championship with the young man. But can this young man get on the field and play games before we start saying that he's better than quarterbacks like Garrett Nussmeier or Cade Klubnik or Lenoris Sellers Let's wait and see what this young man can do on the football field. Let's wait and see how this young man deals with the adjustments that defensive coordinators are going to bring his way. Because that's the thing about being a great quarterback, is that you're consistently improving on certain things. Because these defensive coordinators are paid lots of money to make sure that they make your lives hell. And they are going to make adjustments, and they are going to do everything they can possibly do to make sure that you don't make their lives hell. And that's why you need to value consistency when you talk about quarterbacks. Now, in college football, it's different, right? Like NFL quarterbacks, I think you rank quarterbacks, and consistency needs to be a big thing that you look at because, again, like I said, defensive coordinators, year in and year out, they're trying to make quarterbacks' lives hell, and they get paid a ton of money to do so. College football, it's different because these guys are only starting for 2-3 years. So you more so graded on individual seasons, by the season than you do body of work like you would in the NFL. And when you look at quarterbacks who have started and have been very productive for their programs, you need to give them the nod over Arch Manning, who has only started 2 games. And again, I'm a fan of Arch Manning. I think he's going to be really damn good. I think he's going to lead that team to a championship. But the preseason hype that I'm seeing about Arch Manning right now, I'm sorry. He needs to go on the field and prove it before I say he's the 4th best player in the country, or even a top 5 player in the country. Right now, at this moment, I have Arch Manning as, I think, the 5th best quarterback in the SEC because he's only played 2 games. He does not have the track record that some of these other quarterbacks in that conference do. I think you got to give the nod to Garrett Nussmeier. You got to give the nod to Lenora Sellers. I think after that, to me, you could put Arch Manning at 3. I'm not doing that because I would put Lagway from Florida. I would even put John Mateer from Oklahoma because, again, those guys have played extended periods of time in college football, and Arch Manning has yet to do that. So, again, it's not based off ability. It's based off of the fact that he doesn't have that much of a track record. And not only that, I do look at that Quinn Ewers situation, and I look at that with a little bit of side eye, and I say, if you were really one of these guys, I can't get that off of my chest. Like I had to get that off my chest to where I was thinking that, like, if he is that great, I'm sorry, like Quinn Ewers is a good college quarterback. He was a good college quarterback. He did a lot to bring that Texas program back. But he was a 7th round pick for a reason. He was, and he probably deserved to be drafted there. Like, to me, I look at that and I think you were looking at a situation like you looked at with, Jalen Hurts and Tua, where, in the biggest moment, Saban made the switch to Tua because he's like, he is a better quarterback and I'm trying to win a national championship. And Jalen Hurts did a lot for that program. In Alabama, Nick Saban didn't care. He's like, look, I gotta win a national championship. And Steve Sarkisian, he's coached under Nick Saban before. I don't know. I can't get that off my chest because I'm sorry, Andrew Luck is not sitting behind Quinn Ewers. I can't get over that. And that to me is the thing where I just say, okay, Arch Manning, we'll see what happens. And now here's the thing. In a month from now, I may be coming on this show and saying Arch Manning is the best quarterback in the country. Seriously. I might be coming on this show and saying that. If he goes into Ohio State and plays a hell of a game against Ohio State, I mean, you're going to have to look at that and say, wow, he's built some things here. If he goes out and he has a very strong season in the SEC and Texas is, the best team in the conference and he's a Heisman Trophy candidate, then at that point, I'm willing to say, okay, he's one of the best players in the country. But for right now, I think he's got to prove it before I feel confident saying, no, the hype is real. So, okay, we are moving on to the last topic here. We're going to be talking about the Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford fight that is happening in September. I am very, very excited about this fight. And the way I look at this fight is I believe that Canelo Alvarez is going to win this fight. But if Terence Crawford wins this fight, and I think it is a very outside chance, he, to me, cements himself as the best boxer post-Floyd Mayweather. That post-Floyd Mayweather era, which to me is 2017 on, he cements himself as the best boxer of that era. And there were some great boxers in this era of boxing. You talk about Alexander Usyk. You talk about Canelo Alvarez. Terence Crawford is a guy you talk about. Gennady Golovkin is a guy that you talk about. Vasily Lomachenko. These are great boxers. But I don't think there will be a more impressive victory than if Terence Crawford goes up multiple weight classes to beat Canelo Alvarez. That would be a historical moment in boxing. And that's what I want to happen. I want Terence Crawford to win this fight because I want to be there and witness a historical moment in boxing. But will that happen? I just don't see that happening because at the end of the day, Terence Crawford is an extremely talented and amazing fighter, but he's going up multiple weight classes to fight somebody who is extremely talented and a great fighter. And I just don't see Terence Crawford being able to get the job done, mainly because of the style of the fight, right? How is Terence Crawford going to beat Canelo Alvarez? Terence Crawford is going to beat Canelo Alvarez by outpointing him. He's not going to knock Canelo Alvarez out. That's just not going to be the case. Canelo Alvarez has fought way more powerful punchers than Terence Crawford. He fought Gennady Golovkin, one of the most powerful punchers of his era. Like Gennady Golovkin was one of the most feared maybe the most feared fighter in that era where he was in his prime. And Canelo Alvarez took his best shot multiple times and walked through it. Like you talk about Sergey Kovalev, again, another guy who was an extremely powerful puncher who Canelo Alvarez went up weight classes to fight him. And he took his punches as well. Can he handle Terence Crawford's power? Absolutely, he can handle it. And not only that, I think that you have to look at the style of this fight as well. Like I said, a few minutes here. Terence Crawford's going to have to outpoint him. He's going to have to throw punches to win this fight. And when you look at Canelo, what is his fighting style? His fighting style is his ability to counterpunch. And because of that, I just think that it's going to be too much for Terence Crawford. Now, when you look at, and you rank the fighters, again, in this post-Floyd era, to me, Terence Crawford, even if he loses this fight, I still think you can make a really good case that he's the best fighter post-Floyd. Like me personally, I think Alexander Usyk is the best fighter post-Floyd. I mean, that dude is just filthy. But I don't think Crawford's legacy is affected at all if he does not beat Canelo Alvarez. But I will say this, Canelo Alvarez's legacy is completely, not completely tarnished, but like there's going to be like people are going to look at him a little differently. I think a lot differently because of the fact that, a fighter came up multiple weight classes and beat him. Like that's not good. Like that's not a good look for his legacy. And ultimately, like, do I think this is going to be a great fight? I don't know how great of a fight this is actually going to be. Like, I think that Canelo Alvarez is going to be dominant in this fight because I think that Canelo Alvarez is going to win this fight by knockout. I just think that Canelo Alvarez, again, when we talk about his ability to counterpunch and that being his ultimate, gift that he has and the thing that really gets him to the finish line, that to me it's just going to be too much for Crawford. And again, I commend Crawford for coming up and fighting Canelo Alvarez because that is an extremely tall task, right? I mean, you're talking about going up multiple weight classes and fighting Canelo Alvarez. But I kind of look at this as the Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence fight, where you have a guy like Mikey Garcia, who is a tremendous fighter, very technically sound, but he's just going up and fighting a guy multiple weight classes ahead of him. And not only that, like, I will say this though, because Canelo Alvarez, I think he started out at 147. Stefan, if you could give me the weight class that Canelo Alvarez started off at, I'd greatly appreciate that. He started out 147. I'm sorry about that. And he went up weight classes, right? Terrence Crawford fought in that 140, 147 range for a good bit of time there. So it is interesting because Canelo went up multiple weight classes and Crawford is going up multiple weight classes. So if he is going to fight somebody in a higher weight class, I think that this is actually a fight that makes sense just because of the fact that Canelo Alvarez did fight in, lower, like in around the same weight class. But ultimately, it's just going to be too much. And I think that Canelo Alvarez is going to win this fight. And I think that, even though I have so much love for Terrence Crawford, and I don't think this diminishes his legacy whatsoever, I just think that when you talk about a fighter as skilled as Canelo and you're going up multiple weight classes, like, it's just going to be too difficult for him. But I mean, man, I really want it to happen. I really want Terrence Crawford to win this fight, but I got to be objective. Terrence Crawford is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Like, easily in my top 5 of favorite boxers of all time. But ultimately, again, it's just going to be too much. So looking forward to that. That's going to be really fun. But ultimately, why am I saying ultimately? That's going to be it for the show. It is Friday. I think I told you guys on Wednesday that, we're getting there. We're getting close to Friday, and Friday is already here. If you're working the weekend, I appreciate you. I'm wishing you the best. I've worked weekends plenty of times in my life, and I think I've worked the weekends more than I've worked Monday through Friday in my life. And working the weekends, it's not fun at all. So if you're working the weekends, just know I commend you, and you'll get through it. And I do appreciate that. So before we close out here, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. Make sure to go check out the Mic Drop and the Stadium Pulse. And I want to go over, I believe, the preseason games. I want to go over some preseason games here. I want to go over some preseason games and talk about some of the games that we have this weekend that we'll probably recap when we get back. Titans and Falcons, they play tonight at 7. That is absolutely a game that we're going to be paying attention to because you have 2 young quarterbacks that are going to be playing in that game, Cam Ward and Michael Penix, respectively. You have the Chiefs and Seahawks. That's tonight. Saturday, Dolphins, Lions, Packers, Colts, Patriots, Vikings, Browns, Eagles. By the way, Shedeur Sanders, don't think he's going to play in that game. Panthers, Texans, 49ers, Raiders, Ravens, Cowboys, Chargers, Rams, Jets, Giants, Buccaneers, Steelers, Cardinals, Broncos, and then on Sunday, Jaguars, Saints, Bills, Bears. So, and then Monday, we have a Monday night game, Monday night preseason game. Holy crap. Bengals, Commanders on Monday night, rematch of that Monday night week 2 game, I think it was. So that is going to be it for the show. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next episode.
DJ Payne 1. Oh!